welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you 3 different farmhouse decor DIYs. I'll be showing you 2 different style chalkboards as well as some farmhouse style letter blocks. If you guys want to learn how to create these really easy and inexpensive DIYs, then please keep watching. For the first chalkboard, I'll be using my hot glue gun, this Martha Stewart chalkboard paint, nautical rope, a plate charger, a paintbrush, and some chalk. To start out, I'm painting on this gray chalkboard paint from Martha Stewart in the middle portion of my plate charger. I'm painting this on at a really thin layer, and I'm painting in the same direction so that I have a smooth finish. Using this chalk paint with a brush, it is not going to be perfect, but I did want to get it as smooth as I possibly could. Up on the sides are a little messy, but that'll be covered so it doesn't really matter. My first coat has completely dried, so now I'm painting on a second coat. After my second coat has completely dried, I'm going to be hot gluing this nautical rope around the edges of the plate charger, and I did end up using about 2.5 bundles of this nautical rope, and I picked mine up from Dollar Tree, and I believe there's 9 feet in each bundle. To glue my rope onto the charger, I'm putting hot glue on the charger and then pushing the rope on top of the hot glue, waiting for it to dry for just a second, and then continuing all the way around the charger. After gluing about 3 rows of the rope on the outer portion of the plate charger, I decided I wanted to make sure that the inner circle was even, so I started gluing my rope there, and then I continued that all the way around until I met the edge rope that we had already glued on, and then I cut the end piece off and glued that down with my hot glue. I'm pulling off any strings of hot glue that were left over before I start writing my message in chalk. And that's the last step for this DIY, so let's move on to chalkboard number 2. For this chalkboard, I'll be using an 8x10 frame from Dollar Tree, the chalkboard paint, a paintbrush, the Waverly Inspirations chalk paint in the colors Ivory, Truffle, and Crystal, and some chalk. I'm starting out by taking my frame apart, and then I'm going to be painting on that Martha Stewart chalkboard paint in the color gray over top of the glass part of the frame. And I am doing this in a thin layer, and I'm doing it in one direction, and I'm trying to get it as smooth as I possibly can so that there's no brush strokes in my chalk paint. After my first layer of paint is completely dry, I'm then painting on a second layer. While I'm waiting for my second coat of chalkboard paint to dry on the glass, I'm moving on to my frame, and I'm painting it with the Waverly Inspirations chalk paint in the color Ivory. You could leave your frame the way that it is and not paint it, but I wanted mine to have more of the farmhouse rustic look, so I'm painting mine. Next, I'm dry brushing this Waverly Inspirations chalk paint in the color Crystal over top of my frame that's already dried in the ivory color, but I didn't even need to do this step because the paint didn't even really show up over the ivory because it was too light. I thought it was going to be a little bit darker of a paint, and it wasn't, so I decided to use the Waverly Inspirations chalk paint in the color Truffle over top of the white so that it gave it more of that aged, distressed look. Now that my paint's all dry, I'm going to be putting my frame back together, and now my chalkboard is ready to be used. I love how you can use this in any room of your house and add any kind of message that you like. Now that we're finished with this DIY, let's go ahead and move on to DIY number 3. To make the farmhouse alphabet blocks, I'll be using the Waverly Inspirations chalk paint in the color Ivory and Truffle, some paintbrushes, and alphabet blocks. I'm starting out by painting all of my blocks with the Waverly Inspirations chalk paint in the color Ivory, and I did do 3 coats of this paint just to make sure that everything was covered on my blocks. I'm using the letter blocks to spell out the word farmhouse, but you could use any letters that you want to make whatever word that you want. Here I'm painting on my second and third coats of paint. Next, I'm taking the Waverly Inspirations chalk paint in the color Truffle and my small paintbrush, and I'm going to be painting this over top of the letter and around the edges of the square. Since the paint is so dark, I did only end up having to do one coat of paint on top of my letters. My painting is not perfect around my letters, but that's okay. I think it adds a little bit more character. I definitely would skip the coffee before painting on your letters. I had a bunch of coffee before I started painting and I was a little jittery. And that is the last step for this DIY. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Hit that notification bell so you can be notified of all of my future videos. As always, thank you so much for watching.